Welcome to the exam preparation for SC-200, Microsoft Security Operations Analyst. My name is Bob Tickelman, and I'm a Microsoft technical trainer. In this video, I will guide you through the essential strategies for taking the SC-200 exam. Our focus is on the exam strategy and preparation, not teaching the concepts. Successful completion of the SC-200 exam will grant you the Microsoft Security Operations Analyst certification. There are separate videos that discuss the various learnings and hands-on options as well as other exam prep tools. Once you feel confident in the understanding of the concepts, it's time to take the exam. Now let's get started. I will cover the best practices, the objectives, tips and tricks, and some key points for the exam. This video also includes a lot of visual information for reference. So remember, you can pause the video at any time to review the content. This exam prep will be broken into 4 separate videos, with 1 per objective domain. The first 2 objective domains are meant to give you a sense of the product's capabilities and its setup, some configuration, as well as building a foundation. The 3rd and 4th ODs focus on day-to-day tasks for the SecOps analyst. Let's dive into the content for episode 1, which focuses on managing a security operations environment. This episode will cover how to set up and manage security features of Microsoft Defender XDR. It's going to identify devices in your environment and then managing and securing them. It's going to incorporate Microsoft Sentinel into your security solution, and finally, ingesting data into Microsoft Sentinel. These next 2 slides gives you some insight into the breadth of the knowledge areas that will be covered in this exam domain. Note that you can pause the recording any time to get a better look at the materials on the screen. As the last screen was not enough, here's some more topics that we're going to be going ahead and covering. Know that we're not going to get into all of them at depth, but if you wish, you can always stop the recording, read the topics, and then research them. Otherwise, let's get into this. Microsoft Defender XDR is a unified pre- and post-breach enterprise defense suite that natively coordinates detection, prevention, investigation, and response across your endpoints, identities, email, and applications. Currently, there are 9 separate areas or products such as Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Office 365, Defender for Identity, just to name a few. All of them make up question banks for the exam. This screen is focusing on one area of Defender for Endpoint as a modern SOC, but there is much more that will be needed to know, such as, are you familiar with the attack chain model? Are you familiar with the threat intelligence and its 3 tiers of triage, investigation, and hunt? How familiar are you with the 3 steps of Defender XDR? Step 1 is the continuously monitoring of the suspicious activities and potential threats across your environment. Step 2 is investigating to determine the scope and impact of a threat and identifying the root cause of the incident. And finally, Step 3 is response, which takes actions to remediate the threats. Can you configure the automation to perform these steps? Can you configure machine learning and behavioral analytics to detect the anomalies and sophisticated attacks? Can you configure automation to isolate compromised devices or remove malicious files? How about blocking malicious IP addresses or customization of the automated response actions through the playbooks to fit the specific organizational needs? And an important exam tip is to remember your prerequisites such as subscription levels, network requirements, devices, and role assignments. Device groups allow you to organize and manage devices based on specific criteria such as risk level, department, or geographic location. Are you familiar with the various ways to design and build these groups? Do you know the various options to creating different security policies and configuration policies that can be applied to the different device groups, allowing for tailored security measurements? Here's a quick checkpoint question for you. Can a device belong to more than one device group? Can a device group have more than one policy applied to it? And if so, how are multiple policies resolved to create an effective policy? Permissions can be finely tuned to control who can view, manage, and respond to security incidences. Can you properly configure the permissions that's going to help maintain the security and compliance by limiting access to sensitive information and actions. Unmanaged devices are not new. For a long time, printers and network infrastructure have always been an issue to identify and manage. Adding to this are the BYOD, or bring your own devices, and the proliferation of IoT devices. Being able to manage all of these devices starts with being able to discover them. It's not just knowing the methods that are available, but how to configure these items. When talking about security, rarely is it ever a single solution answer. Being able to use the entire landscape of tools is critical and falls in line with the Microsoft philosophy of defense in depth. Do you remember the 9 products that make up the Defender XDR toolbox, and as the time of this recording, the soon-to-be added Copilot for security? Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management enhances the capabilities of Microsoft Defender for Endpoint by providing continuous asset discovery, risk-based prioritization, and built-in remediation tools. An understanding of these various remediation strategies, including applying security updates, configuration changes, and other mitigation techniques, is essential. You should be comfortable with navigating the Microsoft Defender Security Center to monitor and manage vulnerabilities, generate reports, and track remediation progress. As a general exam tip, it's important that you are familiar with the default values, minimum values, and license requirements for all of the features we talk about. Make sure that you know the Microsoft recommendations for the use of our products, and they often provide guidance to find the correct answer. For example, from the materials it states, to use the exposure management workspace, the following prerequisites must be met. Users need to have the appropriate roles assigned in the Microsoft Entra ID, such as Global Admin or Security Admin. Users must have access to all Defender for Endpoint device groups to fully utilize the exposure management features. You must have an E5 or a P2 license, and preferably also have a Microsoft Defender for Cloud SKU and or Microsoft Defender Security Posture Management license. Microsoft Sentinel usually sits at the pinnacle of your security design and can be implemented as a single tenant with a single Microsoft Sentinel workspace, a single tenant with a regional Microsoft Sentinel workspace, or a multi-tenant workspace. Don't let their names fool you. There are many design decisions that need to be considered, and for the exam, such as ease of management, network costs, and complex government or regulatory requirements. And don't forget about the ability to add Azure Lighthouse and what it can do to meet the design criteria. A complete familiarity of roles and the permissions they possess are critical for the exams. Similar to the last slide, make sure that you consider all of the criteria and Microsoft recommendations. For example, Microsoft Sentinel Contributor can do everything that the Microsoft Sentinel Responder can do. And Microsoft Sentinel Responder can do everything that a Microsoft Sentinel Reader can do. Which one is the minimum role that you need to perform some kind of activity? And while there's a hierarchical structure, you've got to pick the one that is going to provide the least privileged capabilities. And don't forget about other roles such as Microsoft Sentinel Responder, or Microsoft Sentinel Playbook Operator, or Microsoft Sentinel Automation Contributor. And then there's the Microsoft recommendations, which states for the best results, assign these roles to the resource group that contains the Microsoft Sentinel workspace. Content Hub in Microsoft Sentinel offers a comprehensive catalog of security solutions that can be deployed in a single step. It includes domain-specific solutions such as threat protection, compliance, and cloud security. These solutions come with pre-built content like analytic rules, hunting queries, and playbooks, which can be customized to fit your specific security needs. After their deployment, can you configure the solutions to align with your organizational security policies and requirements? This may involve setting up data connectors, customizing workbooks, and configuring analytic rules and playbooks. Speaking of connectors, when configuring and using Microsoft Data Connectors in Azure resources, it's important to be aware of the key Azure native security logs sources. Some of the primary sources are Azure Activity Logs, Entra ID logs, and Defender for Cloud logs. How long is this information kept by default? What if you need to keep it longer? What are you going to do? It's important to know how to configure syslog and common event format, CEF, data connectors in Microsoft Sentinel. This includes setting up the necessary infrastructure and ensuring that logs are correctly being ingested into Sentinel, such as syslog forwarder, Azure Monitor Agent, as well as the data collector rules and log forwarding. You also need to choose from the different deployment options of on-premises deployments, cloud deployments, or some form of hybrid deployment of on-prem and cloud. And when choosing the right deployment option, you need to consider data governance and compliance, cost management, scalability, operational complexity, as well as monitoring and troubleshooting. You will need to know how to deploy and also when to choose which one of these. As I've said before, it's not just about how to install the two options of how to stream events from Windows devices to Microsoft Sentinel, but when to use one over the other. To use the Azure Monitor Agent, or AMA, you install the AMA on a Windows device, which then connects and sends its events to the collection agent. We then create and configure a DCR data collection rule to specify which event should be collected. To use Windows Event Forwarding Event, or WEF, we configure WEF to forward events from source computers to a central collector. That collector can be a dedicated Windows server that has the AMA agent installed on it. It's crucial to grasp the process of data ingestion in Microsoft Sentinel, including how data is collected, processed, and stored. This involves knowing the different sources of data and how they are ingested into Sentinel. You should be familiar with creating and managing DCRs. These rules define which data should be collected and how it should be processed during the ingestion process. Knowing how to monitor the health and performance of data ingestion pipelines is important. This includes identifying and resolving issues that may arise during the ingestion process, and you should know techniques for optimizing data ingestion, such as reducing data volumes, filtering unnecessary data, and applying transformations to improve the quality of data and relevance. As we stated at the start of this episode, there's a wide variety of topics, and a lot of them are not covered. You're seeing on the slide just a sampling of some of the other topics that you want to make sure that you have some familiarity with before you take the exam. To recap this episode, we've discussed how to configure settings in Microsoft Defender XDR, manage assets and the environments. We designed and configured a Microsoft Sentinel workspace and ingested data sources into Microsoft Sentinel. Remember, this group accounts for 20 to 25% of the exam, so keep in mind to that when preparing for the exam. Thank you for watching episode 1 on managing a secure operations environment. Be sure to join me for episode 2, where we cover configuring protections and detections.